Wonderful. And Virtual Connecting is live at the New Media Consortium. And this morning we are lucky to be talking to Maya Georgieva.
Yes.
Is that close?
Yes.
Who did a workshop, I think the first day, on virtual reality and the future of learning. And we also have Autumm, Caines, and Helen DeWaard with her. And hopefully Emery Craig will be joining them later.
Yeah, he's just coming in the room.
He's just coming in now. Awesome.
Good morning.
Good morning. Let's say hello to Emery here.
Yeah.
And then, hi Emery, welcome.
Hi.
We are live, Emery.
Okay.
No. And then can AK, why don't you go ahead and introduce yourself?
Good morning, everyone. My name is AK. This morning coming to you from Salem, Massachusetts. My wearable is that a couple years ago I got a Sony smartwatch running Android Wear, and since then I've left my phone in the office and just go out on runs. Just me, my phone, my wearable, and my headphones for audiobooks.
Hi Greg, do you want to introduce yourself and tell us where you are?
Sure, yeah. My name's Greg Dillon, and I'm in Providence, Rhode Island. I work at the Rhode Island School of Design. I got to work extra early so I can enjoy this virtually connecting session. And I'm a total noob in instructional design, but I'm really looking forward to learning more with you guys and learning about the conference.
Great. Yeah.
Hi everyone, I'm Sundie and I'm in Wisconsin this morning. And yeah, I'm like AK. I have just gotten a little wearable and I've been enjoying it. We also got a VR Vive at our school recently, so we've been exploring that, so that's been interesting. So I'm excited to talk to you folks.
Oh, that's very interesting.
Yeah. Well, why don't you introduce yourself and just talk a little bit about that. Yeah. So good morning, everyone. My name is Maya Georgieva, and I have been sort of in the field of higher ed innovation for the last maybe 15 years. About 8 of those years I spent at NYU, leading a Center for Teaching and Learning and Innovation. And then my latest project is Digital Bodies, and Digital Bodies is a consulting group focused on virtual reality, wearables, and immersive learning, and the future of education. So for the NMC, we presented a 3-hour workshop. The first day we got here, and it was really focused on the virtual reality, augmented reality, mixed reality. I know it's a lot of different jargon and a lot of kind of different ways to explain this, but I think that this is why it's timely to have this conversation in higher education and just in the educational world. And so we were very lucky to have a true cross-section from people coming from K-12, from museums, from higher different fields, everything from medical schools to liberal arts to professional schools in other areas, research university, and so it was really fun. And here's my co-presenter, Emery Craig.
Hi, Emery Craig, Director of E-Learning at the College of New Rochelle and also co-founder of Digital Bodies, and did the workshop with Maya on virtual reality and all those other terms, right? And I've been in instructional technology and higher ed for a number of years, and but interestingly enough, I also have a background in the museum world. I was in the art world for 8 years when I first came out of graduate school, and worked at the New Museum, and then worked down Soho as a gallery director. So with the whole development with virtual reality and new media, I've just been absolutely fascinated by what's happening with this, because I just see that images are becoming something so much more than just images. They're becoming experiential, deeply experiential, and it's just a fascinating development for me to follow and to work on. And like Maya said, we had at the workshop, we really had a cross-section of people, which I think just made it made for very dynamic conversations.
I think I'll just introduce myself, Helen DeWaard. I'm with Lakehead University, and the whole VR wearable technology in terms of teacher education and how do teachers prepare students to become immersed in these types of virtual worlds is very interesting for me. So I'm really glad to have a chance to talk and learn a little bit more here.
Yeah, one thing I saw tweeted out about what what you all were saying on Tuesday was to not overteach these environments, and I love that. And I was just wondering if maybe you could say a little bit more about that.
Yeah, I should go and find this tweet because actually I didn't see it. But in the spirit of the workshop, we try, and I went back to see the Twitter feed, but definitely should do. I should look into those. Well, I think that we were trying to the way we structured our workshops really was in terms of introducing some of the latest developments, some of the players, some of the projects, and some of the projects come from a variety of cross sections, from people in entertainment, the people who've been produce filmmakers, independent filmmakers, to companies who are taking sort of looking at it as a marketing approach, to people who just want to really explore the idea of narratives. And then we kind of try to think about what it is in how this virtual reality potentially and augmented reality and these experience relate to higher education, and where is this going. And there's been a couple of centers that really have been working for a really long time, like the Stanford Human Interaction Lab, and they've produced some projects, and I think in relation to one of their projects, this comment was made in terms of they created a project which is called the ocean, about the ocean acidification, the coral reef. Yeah, thank you. The coral reef, and they have two experiences. And one of the first experience of the coral reef is purely like a 360 experience. So you dive in with professional divers and environmentalists, and you go to the bottom of the ocean to see the ocean acidification. So it's a 360. You can look around. It's a completely immersive. You can see it at the moment, even on mobiles, on a cardboard and Gear VR. You can see on some of those units. And so this is one type of experience. So it's a sort of the next version of National Geographic video, but it's immersive, and you can kind of move around the floor and move. It gives you an idea of kind of being like a fly on the wall with them, and it kind of ends this way and ends up with a conversation. And the second experience is they take a different approach about the coral reef. And so the second experience is really created in a completely digital environment with a game engine, sort of software, Unity, which allows you to recreate this based on the 360. And so it has, the reason you go to 3D engines is because, and game engines is because you can actually kind of bring in more interactive elements. And in particular, in the coral reef, interactive, you have almost like a game-like elements where people can go look at the floor, actually collect some samples, bring them up, and there's some feedback. So you can see this, anybody from like from high school sort of students really into higher education, you can examine those samples, and so it gives you really examples, different parts of the floor where there's acidification and where there's less of it. And so this was, and I enjoyed both experiences. So I really thought that, as a precursors of what's possible to do, and certainly they've had so much experience at Stanford, and Jeremy Bailinson, the director of the Human Interaction Lab, has been such a, providing so much insights for all of us.
A real driving force.
For the last 20 years. Yeah. So it's not, this is their work really spans. What I was saying, my only sort of comment as I was experienced those, virtual reality experiences, I thought like it was just, I needed some time. I needed some time actually with the divers to really, have my own moments of exploring. I'm taken to this new environment, and it was just too much information in addition to visual stimuli, which is quite amazing. So, sort of my thing was like, I think that, there was just this, we can take as much information, and once you immerse, everything is kind of like amplified. So there was just too much, I thought, too much other additional information in addition to the visuals, which was stunning and amazing experience in itself. And sort of my comment on them for people is, if you go there, don't take an approach of this is sort of the video lecture, or even like the flipped lecture.
Right.
It's not, it doesn't quite work this way. You need people to step in and have their own experience.
Right.
And, you know, what sort of, I think that's where the concept, don't try to do everything. And we've had, I think, in higher ed, some really, you know, sometimes thinking through the video, and this is a whole new paradigm. So it's not exactly a direct translation. What works in video works in VR, not at all. It's a new medium, and it's the language about this medium is about to get sort of creative.
I would agree. Another good example here is what the New York Times has done, because they've just done such amazingly innovative work in terms of making use of VR to try to reinvent journalism. And if you look at the piece they did, The Displaced, with, you know, the children whose lives have been torn apart by war, it's just. It's breathtaking. It's tragic. It's so moving. But you know what they do in the Displaced is they put you in the scene, but they're letting the children speak to you. And so that's part of the, you know, like, you know, and of course there's translations, because there's a child from southern Sudan, it's a child from the Ukraine. But so you have to read the subtext as you're doing it, but that kind of works. And then the other experience that we did that was a real contrast to that, also by the Times, is Pluto, the frigid planet, or whatever. I think that's the title of it. Yeah. And it, you know, there's also a breathtaking experience, but kind of walked out of that going, you narrated the whole entire thing as you were in it, and there was music playing, and I understand that and this is going to be a real challenge. It is, you know, because there's an easy way to do documentary in some ways in virtual reality, which is to say, let the people in the space talk, as opposed to let us narrate it. Pluto doesn't talk back to us, you know. Or you know, you drop yourself on the, you know, on the surface of Pluto, and you're like, okay, now what? But maybe you do need that, you know. Maybe you need just at least a few minutes to stop and just soak in the environment before somebody starts to tell you what you're looking at. Which obviously, with Pluto, you are going to need some explanatory information.
Yeah, when you travel to a new place, it's not like somebody jumps on you and starts explaining everything about it.
Yeah, right, exactly. Yeah, you have at least a few minutes or some time, or, you know, and maybe you even need to, because there is so much control, user control in virtual reality, just kind of thinking through this now, it's maybe you need to even make the text not optional, but to say when I want to listen to the text, you know, because you have this feeling of freedom and control. I can look around anywhere. I'm not imprisoned by the, you know, the screen that's on the wall. I'm immersed in a space, and I can do what I want as the viewer. So don't talk to me right now. Just stop, you know, and then, you know, but now, okay, now I'm lost. I don't know what I'm looking at. I really need some help, so explain this to me, and then start the narrative at that point, which would be sort of like the students being able to say to the instructor in the class, don't talk right now, just wait. Which is not, you know, that's a whole different mode of, you know.
It reminds me a little bit of museums, because when we go into museums, you know, unless we have a paid tour guide, nobody's really narrating or bringing us through the museum tour, but we can just go at it on our own pace, and then when we get lost or we want to see more about the specific artwork, we can look at the little plate on the wall, we can look at our guidebook. If we've gotten one of those little headphone things where you know, press a specific number and you get more information about the work, then you can do that.
Right.
Yeah, that's a very good analogy, and one of the ways to think about virtual reality experiences at the moment where we are, and you know, this could change very, very differently in a year. I think it's been going really fast. Is to think of them as you know, field trips, and some some of the work that Google has done with the Google Cardboard in the K-12 environment, being able to take children and kids and students to places that they normally will not be able to do. And we all know that when you do a field trip, and whether you're in K-12 or in higher ed, at any point in your sort of learning experience, you tend to remember those because they're experiential. You go to the museum, or you go to visit a history site or anything, and there's so many conversations, there's different information. So one way to think about virtual reality experience is to kind of to take an approach, I think, of a field trip, and then connect to something else.
Yeah.
And it actually came up I was in a session on virtual field trips with the museum,
Right.
And they talked about using robotics, telepresence robotics to do the museum walk. I thought that was an interesting.
Fascinating.
Okay.
Yeah, and I think the combination, obviously, in the future of virtual reality and artificial intelligence and the Internet of Things can bring about some amazing, I think, learning experiences. And I think there's so much. I think the space is open for creativity.
I'd just like to welcome Wendy. She joined us midway here. So Wendy, do you want to say hello? Make sure your mic's working and everything. Maybe she's not really there. It's just her picture.
Wendy's coming in from Alice Springs in Australia. And internet is sometimes a challenge for her. Hopefully she'll come back.
That was very game show-like, though. Sunday was saying something, and then the image goes, bam.
Appear and disappear.
She got voted off the island.
So, does any of you have you tried virtual reality? Have you engaged in any conversations in your school, in your organization, within your team?
I just went to a conference on global learning in Denver, and I used virtual reality for the first time. There was a group of people in an expo hall that they were using virtual reality as a way to promote global learning experiences to students.
Interesting.
And so, a lot of students, especially at my school, they don't really have a whole lot of desire to study abroad because they work so hard to get into the school. So they're trying to use virtual reality as a way to seduce the students through visual means.
Interesting.
That maybe they should do a little travel.
Exactly.
The real reality versus the virtual reality.
I mean, I think where you are also the Rhode Island School of Design, right? I think there also gives you a whole new perspective of how an artwork could be experienced. Anything from, starting from, walking into a museum and what this could be, but imagine a young artist, whether it's a sculpture or whether it's something, more of an installation, and now they can capture this in virtual reality. So they can give the experience of somebody on the other side of the world the ability to walk around that sculpture. Not just the flat image. So I've been talking to some programs that are sort of in that space of art and film, and I think it really opens a new dimension for the students' work to be shared in a whole new way. So I think it will be interesting to see. There's a project in NYU where one of the Tisch, I think, fellows there in the Tisch School has created this amazing sort of a project on museum pieces that have been stolen. So they can't be seen anywhere. And she's created a virtual museum with these pieces. And then it's out there so people can look at these pieces from, previously where they've had images of them previously taken, and so if people see them somewhere, they can possibly, I think, report them. That remains to be seen. Whether I feel like the museum may just grow, because unfortunately that tends,
those things don't
continue
reappear
to happen.
Stolen.
I think more things disappear than reappear, but
still, it's an interesting.
But I really was an interesting project to see in New York, and kind of her thinking of a completely virtual museum. And the other interesting project has been actually with with a team of I think different fellows, and the The Economist of actually recreating a couple of different sites who have been destroyed in Syria, and so people can now go, recreate, and some of this is really interesting new work. So this is not only a conservation work, it's a digital conservation work. I don't know, there's probably a term for that, but to create these pieces in virtual reality which have been either demolished or disappeared. So again, taking this medium now and trying to kind of do something good out, with its affordances and potential.
The other project here, which is really is worth mentioning, is what the Dowie Museum has done down in St. Petersburg, Florida, where they took this Dowie piece, and you can put on an Oculus Rift headset and basically walk into the painting, and
I saw a video of that.
Yeah, the video is online on YouTube. Take a look at it, because it's like a 360 video, which you don't get the same experience, obviously, but it's still just amazing. And Dali's, obviously, his landscapes just lend themselves to this sort of immersive, sort of pull you in quality, and to see the reminiscence of Los Angeles, and be able to just walk into this and see this surreal landscape. And of course, it's taking some serious liberties here, because you don't know what the back of the objects look like. I mean, it's painting. You see the front, so you're basically somebody is recreating this digitally to turn it into a three-dimensional environment. But it's still just utterly fascinating, because you just see it from a whole different perspective.
Yeah, I can see a real power in that recreation of cities and places that have been demolished, and being able to see both the present as well, to see the difference between those two things, to feel that kind of what's happened there as well. As
I know one of the didn't mean to interrupt you. So much to one of the comments I think we made at the conference, and also got tweeted, and I don't know what you caught this one, but in relation to recreating and thinking about what it's urban design on the historic side is almost like taking a time machine. Being able to see an urban project, or even something like New York City's port, or London in 2 centuries ago, and see where it's today, for urban planning, for architecture, for cities and everything connected to that science. There's so much interesting things, and there's also so much interesting to think about ethnographic research and other things. So so I think that there definitely we'll see projects like this come about. Yes.
AK, did you have?
It reminds me a little bit. Well, it reminds me a little bit of a trip that I did a couple of years ago. We went to Pompeii. Beautiful place. A bit of a pain to get in, but once we were in, it was fine. But there were 2 things that really struck me. One, the really, really, really bad directions, because Pompeii is not a small site. So there was really no direction as to how to get to different places. You had to buy a map, or you were given a really bad map that didn't really have a lot of info. But that was also when Google Glasses, or Google Glass, was big. So I was thinking, this would be an awesome thing, either through augmented reality, through Google Glass or your phone, to either get directions around an ancient city, or to be able to point your phone or Google Glass to a site that's partially destroyed, and then it builds out the rest for you to how it would have been at the time during its heyday, and also see actual Romans walking around the streets of Pompeii while you're doing your tour. So looking at that, it's like, oh my God, why is this not a thing yet?
Yes, I've actually visited Pompeii, and it's a fascinating site, I think, to visit. And there's obviously we need to preserve it. But I think in the last 2 weeks it was announced that there is a project looking into virtual reality experience on Pompeii, which I think, as you know, I agree with you. It's kind of like a truly interesting site preserved, you know, by this volcano ash in a way that we don't have that many, you know, kind of left, and can understand so much from a historic, again, from so many different perspectives. But I do believe that it was just something like very, not more than 2 weeks ago that I caught that sort of in their sources.
Right. Yeah, I think what you say about augmented reality and Google Glass here is very important, and we will end up using these kind of devices and tools probably within the next 3 to 5 years. And, you know, there's still some hardware challenges here. One of the big issues with Google Glass, of course, the battery life was so bad, and it was sort of comfortable, not entirely comfortable, but not the best. It didn't look the best, and you know, and we're just sort of trying to figure out, if you're going to wear a device on your head, first of all, where do you put the battery? Because if it's, you know, if the battery's up there, it's going to be heavy. It's not going to be comfortable. It's going to be heavier than a pair of glasses. And the only other alternative is then you hook something on your belt or something like that, and then have a wire going up to your head and do something like that. You know, you do have, and this is where like Microsoft HoloLens, I think is Microsoft has been so incredibly inventive here, because HoloLens, you are wearing a computer on your head, and it is incredibly comfortable. However, it's a visor, so almost like a helmet kind of thing, and I don't know that people are going to want to wear that walking around Pompeii right now. You know, maybe not quite there yet. Though if it provides enough, maybe we would. I don't know. You know, it's a matter of public acceptance. But I do think, you know, 5 years out, I do think there will be some breakthroughs in battery technology and in the design, so that we do have lighter weight devices. Then you're right. We're going to go to a historical site, and we're going to, you know, have glasses or put something on our heads and be able to say, okay, pull up the information on this. First, I just want to see it, but now I want to see the scene, and now let me just populate it with people, and let me just see what it was like in, you know, 100 BC, which would just be utterly incredible to have that experience.
And from a language perspective, it's really interesting, because then you can actually have those people speaking what, you know, scholars think Latin or ancient Greek or whatever would sound like, and then you're basically immersed in that environment. So it becomes not just an environment for historical recreation, but also for linguistic and cultural recreation as well.
Yeah. Almost mist quality. If you think back in the gaming environment, the game Myst, I can see the kind of the evolution into this mist-like environment where you can immerse yourself in it.
Yeah, and some of the educators at the workshops immediately kind of gravitated towards the idea of using this for language instruction, like full immersion, having students who are studying foreign languages connect with native speakers, you know, have this conversational hour, and to immersed in, you know, sort of in the environment, in the cultural sort of moment. I think it's going to be a much stronger experience compared to some of the things that we have today. So there was definitely a conversation by
in the workshop.
And that's an interesting connection for lost languages, or languages that are about to become lost.
Right, there's a huge cultural issues about this. Yeah, definitely.
I think, and relearning languages that are not in traditional use.
Yeah.
I think of First Nations peoples, Aboriginal peoples that are losing those cultural and heritage just because they're losing the language.
We're coming up on the 30 minutes here, so I do want to let you guys go and start your day at the conference.
Yes.
Breakfast. You know what we haven't done in a long time? I'm sorry.
Autumn has a request.
You know what we haven't done in a long time is turned the laptop around to get a picture of the virtual person with, or the virtual like hangout with the.
Okay, we can do that.
Stay put.
Yeah.
Stay put.
Yeah,
I
no.
keep trying to like dance around people.
Stay put.
We haven't done one of these in a long time, and these used to be the pictures that we always gave.
Is this in a good position or not?
I think it is.
Yes?
I think it is. Yeah.
Good.
I might do a filter just because the lighting isn't perfect
Yeah,
in here,
yeah. Good idea.
but.
Excellent.
Thanks, guys.
And we do have on the virtually connecting website, there's a Flickr collection of all of the images.
Yeah.
This has been our debut on virtually connecting. And, it was a great way to wake up and connect with you folks. But certainly looking forward to doing it again. And
Yeah, I'd love to do it
it's
again.
good to have that sort of connection, to be able to, share and connect with you.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah.
We really appreciate you giving your time. This was great. Thank you so much.
Right. Thank you all for coming.
Okay.
Thank you, virtual folk, too, who, if you would like to stick around, AK and Greg, for a few words, then please do.
Okay. We'll see you guys.
Okay. Bye-bye.
Bye.
Bye.
Bye. Conference.
Take care.
So next time in VR.
They kind of put it in perspective for me. I really appreciated that. I've been struggling with it because we've been, trialing ours out. We have an HTC Vive. I don't know if you guys know that one. And it's like candy. Like students come in and they just want to play games, and professors have come in and just been like, whoa, this is totally amazing. And so it's so much that it makes me nervous, but I think, there are a lot of great things that can be done with it, but I think I like the idea of, making sure to give it space and, I don't know, I appreciated their experience with it.
I think there's definitely room for reconceptualization of how we design courses. And what it means, and going back to yesterday's discussion, what does it mean to learn? What is learning, teaching, and things like this cannot just be bolted on. It sort of would be like saying, okay, we have a class, but what the hell, today we'll go for a field trip. It just doesn't work like that. You have to do things intentionally in order for them to actually be useful and to be effective. And I think this is one of those things that makes us rethink how we design.
I'd like to see it maybe not even just for field trips or everything I've seen so far with virtual reality has been like you're standing in the middle of a skateboard park or you're underwater or in the Grand Canyon, which is great, but it would be really cool to just be able to have a conversation with somebody across the world and feel like you're in the same room. I feel like I've read some articles about smart room experiences with students from different classes and collaborating across cultures and just feeling like you're connecting more. And I feel like virtual reality could really facilitate that connection and make people feel like they were studying in the same place.
That's funny because I think when 3D movies came out, it was all, trying to make the experience so intense and weird environments. And I remember having conversations with people about like a really good film with slow talking and movement, to have that in 3D would be actually kind of cooler.
Yeah.
Because it was a different experience, a slower kind of, the human part of that comes out more instead of the environment and everything that's around you. But yeah, that's a good idea.
Yesterday.
Yeah, the idea of a holodeck. Go ahead, Gregory.
Oh no, I was just I'm trying to remember if it was either today or yesterday. It's too early in the morning to differentiate between the two. I think there was a conversation about virtual reality and combining it with being on a roller coaster but wearing the virtual reality set at the same time. I thought that was so intense. Like, I can barely stand roller coasters now. Never mind having the headset on and experiencing something completely different. It's mind blowing.
I was thinking, now that you mentioned, I'm thinking more getting people onboarded to those real life experiences, because there are people who are of heights, and you can slowly use those types of VR experiences where the physical danger isn't there to prep them for the actual experience.
Yeah.
But I was also thinking in terms of virtual reality, physics-based games or physics-based environments. So you're not just doing field trips, but you're also taking real-life physics that's happening in the real world, but you maybe not have the raw materials or locations or places to do your experiments. You can do all that in VR. So if you have chemistry students, for example, you don't necessarily want them messing around with really dangerous chemicals when they're novices, but maybe do that in VR and sort of figure out what to mix and what not to mix without being told what it is.
So they could see something blow up in their face without actually blowing up in their face?
Right. Without actual harm.
That's a great idea.
Safe mistakes, kind of.
Exactly.
One thing I wanted to ask about, and I didn't get a chance to, but I know when I tried it out, one of the strangest parts about virtual reality is that you feel alone, or you feel very like in that place, even if there's people in the same room as you. And that's a really weird thing that we're going to have to get used to or figure out and make sure that, you know, people don't get too used to that. Or I see that as a really kind of strange part of the experience, is you really, no matter how many people are around you, it feels like you are alone. I don't know.
It's a strange sensation for sure. I'm sure the next generation is going to grow up and be totally used to it.
I think that happens in real life too. I mean, you can be at like a really busy intersection, but if you don't have your own people there, you know, people that you know and that you connect with, then it's going to be a lonely experience, whether it's in VR or in real life. I was actually thinking of a demo that I saw a couple of days ago. Are you familiar with E3?
No.
E3 is a game conference every year where companies are showing their new games, games that are upcoming in the next holiday purchasing cycle, things of that nature. And there's a Star Trek Bridge Crew game. It's VR, it's 4 people, and you're taking the place of somebody on the bridge of a ship. So you're cooperatively playing this game as a commander, as a navigator, as a weapons person, and it's up to the 4 people in that group to cooperate in a virtual reality environment using virtual reality consoles in the world to pilot the ship, go to strange new worlds, fight Klingons, what the case might be. It seemed really interesting.
Absolutely. Did you go to the conference?
No, I see most of the stuff online.
Okay.
It's one of those things that one of these days I'll make to it. Maybe we can do a virtually connecting from it.
So the different people are in different places with VR machines. So it's like 4 people in 4 different places, but they're on a ship together virtually.
I think that's a possibility.
Place, right?
Yeah, when they were doing the demos, they actually got Star Trek personalities like LeVar Burton and Jerry Ryan to play the game. So they were videotaping them. They were all in the same room. But I assume that this stuff can work over the internet. I think there's a different aesthetic when you hear an analog. So if you and your 4 or 3 of your buddies are, you know, sitting in a room, you'll have VR headgear on, but you actually hear their voice in the room. That could be more immersive. I don't know. Maybe once the game comes out, we can try it.
Yeah, I think I might be interested in games again. I've taken a hiatus for a while, I think, and it might be time to go back. Well, folks, I'm sure you have to get ready for work and start going too, or you're already at work, Gregory. But thanks for waking up and joining us.
Thank you. That was really interesting.
Well, thank you.
All right. See you guys online.
All right. And I'll see you in the afternoon. Bye-bye.
Bye.
Bye.